Are you ready to play?
Yes.
It's time. The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel-Shinn really inspired me. That's where the talk title came from. She said, most people consider life a battle, but it is not a battle, it's a game. Doesn't that just change the energy of it? To sit back and go, wow, I'm here to play. Play in the human existence. Play in this field of potentiality. Play at this thing called life. I don't need to endure it. I don't need to put in time till I die. I need to get right in and be who I was created to be and celebrate it. She says, it is a game, however, which cannot be played successfully without the knowledge of spiritual law. And the Old and New Testament give the rules of the game with wonderful clearness. Jesus Christ taught that it was a great game of giving and receiving. Giving and receiving. Where have we heard that before? Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. This means that whatever we send out in word or deed will return to me. What I give, I will receive. This is really important because I think sometimes we hold back stuff. We hold back our love because we're afraid we're going to get hurt, or we've been hurt in the past and we think it's going to repeat. If we think that, we do get to be right, by the way, it will. We get to allow ourselves to really show up in life. The other book I've been reading recently is The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. So smart. And in the first chapter, he talks about the law of potentiality. Pure potentiality. Did you realize that that's what you are? That this idea of us being some finite, stuck thing that can't create is absolute silliness. That the minute we get out of the competitive mind and begin to relax into the creative mind, or the Christ consciousness, the superconscious, what happens is the way is paved for us. It is paved for us so beautifully, so perfectly, that we can glide through life with effortless ease in each and every moment. That no matter what shows up, our ability to accept what is allows us to move forward with a sense of grace and ease. How does that sound? Does that sound better than the suffering that some of us have been doing?
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of like that too. The law of pure potentiality is this first chapter. The second one is the law of giving. Whatever you give into life is the only thing you can take out of it. So what are you giving? Are you giving your stubbornness? Are you giving the, I got to be right and everybody else got to be wrongness? Are you giving your sense of limitation? Well, that can't happen. It's impossible. I saw a show where instead of it's impossible or whatever it was, impossible is I'm possible. I am Possible. I'm possible. Doesn't that just change the meaning of the word a little bit for you? Instead of thinking something's impossible, in fact, the minute that you think something's impossible, the minute you think it can't be done, just go, wait a minute, I'm possible. I'm possible. Let's change the word. Let's change the way we use it so that we can begin to experience the possibility that's there for us. He talks about the law of karma, or cause and effect, right? Whatever I put out comes back. The law of least effort. Now, how many of you believe you got to work hard to earn a living? Okay, 2 honest people, 3 honest people in the room. We've got this drilled into us, right? Work hard, study hard, do it hard. Why are we doing that? If, in fact, the universe responds to us and through us according to the thoughts that we think, is it not going against the very essence of Christ consciousness to work hard? Should we not be allowing the presence and power of the Christ to come up through us, to move us into action? Should we not be listening to it for the idea of what our next step should be? Would that not make sense? If there's only God and I'm some aspect of it, is there not a part of me that knows, that is tapped into the universal intelligence? Wow, the law of least effort, I like that. So from now on, when you catch yourself saying, oh, this is hard or that is hard, change the word hard to the word easy. Wow, this is so easy. This is so joyous. Going to school is easy. Writing exams is easy. I remember telling Genevieve in grade 3 when she was going to do her standardized tests. She was a little nervous about it. And I said, don't be. Everything is already known in mind. All you have to do is tap into that. And she was like, oh, okay. In those days, she believed everything I said. And it was easy for her, right? So it's whatever we tap into, whatever we believe. The law of intention and desire. You know, sometimes we set an intention for something really negative to happen in our lives, don't we? We start worrying and fretting, doubting. Those are all intentions. Intentions that take us along a path that's going to cause us great challenges. Suffering. You know, suffering is a choice. We can sit back and change our mind and go, it is what it is, and because it is what it is, I intend to move forward with ease and grace because I'm going to listen to the Christ within and move from there. The law of detachment. I'm not going to attach myself to any outcome. I'm not going to tie myself to one idea. I'm going to allow life to be what it is, fluid and moving all the time. And by doing that, I allow myself to be present and available to Spirit. Sometimes we get attached to outcomes. We get attached to things. I have lots of things in my house I'm attached to. I need to detach and let them go. Sometimes we have to surrender fully so that we can let go of that which no longer serves us, whatever it might be. The law of detachment. And then the law of dharma, or purpose in life. You know, each one of us has a little something that we do that no one else can do in the way that we do it. There's a part of us that actually is fulfilling life in every moment according to the gift that we have. You see, we've all been given a gift. We're all unique. We are all special. There isn't one special person. You know, we can't look at somebody who's prime minister or president or the Pope and go, whoa, that person's so special. They put their pants on one leg at a time as well. We all are unique, special, and absolutely essential to the unfolding of the universe at this point in time. And what is up to us is to show up, not to wait for someday. Sometimes we're waiting for someday, aren't we? We're waiting for the day we get married. We're waiting for the day we have our children. We're waiting till they move out. Just kidding. We're waiting for... Right? We're waiting for the day that we get the right job. We're waiting for the day that we get a new boss. We're waiting. What are we waiting for anyway? Ultimately, the waiting game takes us directly to death, and then there's no more waiting. But is that what we really desire? What if instead of waiting, we allowed in each moment to be fully present? Not just with some people, but with all people, that in each moment we chose to play the game from a possibility of love and potential, that we chose to play the game as something that's rewarding and joyous and fulfilling and satisfying, that we decided to play the game as something that's really fun. No matter what showed up, that we decided it was going to be fun. Because whatever our intention is, whatever we name a thing, right? Remember in Genesis, whatever you name a thing, that's what it'll be for you. We name things hard and difficult and challenging. We name things impossible. But if we change all that and go, wait a minute, I am one with God, therefore I am powerful. I know what's going on. How many of you have said even already today, I don't know? That's a lie. That's a lie we're telling ourselves. I don't know. Of course we know. We're one with God. We know. We know who we are. We know what to do if we would only listen. So the game of life is really a listening game. It's a game of expanding our minds so that we can hear that still small voice within us that's whispering quietly. Sometimes it comes along as the cosmic sledgehammer. You know, that's when we need the big wake-up call. But the truth is that in every moment of every hour of every day, we are receiving information. It's just that oftentimes we have decided that our ego self, or the conscious mind that is focused on the problems, the challenges, and the difficulties, that part of mind is the right one. So we're listening to that rather than listening to the whisper of the divine. And as we begin to listen to that whisper, at first it might seem kind of quiet and hard to catch. But if we will listen to it very quickly, it becomes louder. It becomes more present to us. It becomes more available to us and through us. And we start to listen and act. And we sometimes refer to prayer as treatment, right? Treating the mind. And one of the sayings within the New Thought teaching is treat and move your feet. Don't say a prayer and then wait for, the skies to open up and God to jump down and hand you a blessing. Because God is handing you that blessing through the person seated beside you. You know that person that annoys you to the ends and depths of the universe? That one that you just can't wait to get out of your life, but somehow they're always right there, pressed up against your nose. You know that person? Everybody have one of those somewhere along the way? That person is an angel sent to you by God to allow you to fulfill your divine potential of love. Isn't that great? Yeah. And so we need to look at them differently. We need to not resist, because whatever you resist persists. You already know that because they're still there. But in the moment that you love them and release them, in the moment that you love them and celebrate them, in the moment that you give them a blessing, all of a sudden they either transform or disappear. Wow, how easy is that? But it's not, is it? Our mind gets focused on the problem. We start thinking about the problem and we're expanding the problem. In fact, we even like to make it bigger. So when we tell it to our best friend, we don't tell it exactly as it happened. We make it just a little smidge bigger so we can get their sympathy. You can find sympathy in the dictionary. Look it up. We don't want that or need that. It doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve them. What we want to do is be able to stand in pure potentiality. We want to stand in this moment shining, the bright shining light that each one of us are, shining that so big, so loud, so bright that people around us have to flip on their shades because it's hurting their eyes to look upon the brilliance. Imagine for the moment that you were to look out at the world and go, wow, this person that I thought was so challenging and so difficult is my mirror. Oops. Darn it anyway. They're showing me who I am. They're showing me who I think I am. They're showing me what I believe about life and the world. Oh, don't you just hate that? Don't you just hate that moment when you go, that thing in front of me that I dislike so much is me. Hallelujah. Praise God. Because in the moment that I go, wow, that's me shining back at me. What is it about me I don't like, I don't love, I don't care about, I don't pay attention to? What is it about me that I have disowned and discarded? What is it about me that I have chosen to judge as bad and wrong? What is it about me? Because it always comes back to that, right? There's only one of us here. And whoever's in front of me is my mirror. Wow, I must be great. Look at this. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. But we look at life from our own perspective. And if we want to make it a game that's fun and inspiring and sweet and beautiful, if we want to transform the world that we see, we need to begin with the only person we can begin with. The one who's doing the looking. That'd be me. Right? As I look into the world, I see myself reflected back to me. And the game of life is to be able to see that and be grateful for it. To look at everything in front of me going, thank you, thank you, thank you, Mother, Father, God, that I can see in front of me exactly what I believe about life. For life can only bring to me that which I am. And so when I see a challenge, when I see a mountain that needs to be climbed, when I see a difficulty somewhere, it is an opportunity to look within and say, show me the way. Listen to that still small voice. Listen, tap into the Christ consciousness so that I can begin to see where I can go. We read the Bible and we hear all these stories in there and how we've got to be moving forward, or we just might turn into a pillar of salt. That's death and dying. That can't go anywhere, can it? We know that story, and yet we still look back all the time. With regret, with remorse, guilt, shame. Stop it already. Stop it. You are created in the image and the likeness of God, therefore you are now and have always been perfect, whole, and complete. Your behavior might be a bit questionable, but who you are is divine. So let's stop looking at the behavior of everybody around us and begin to look at the behavior of ourselves and say, I am choosing to behave like the Christ. I am choosing to expand my consciousness that I might live as the Christ lives. I am choosing right now to go, I am God. No bolt of lightning, hallelujah. I could say that because there's no clouds in the sky today. I was hoping. No. We know that God is within us, being us, that there is not something out there. There is no power outside of us. There is only the universe expressing as us and through us in each and every moment, and it is directed by our thinking. Now, sometimes we go, well, I can't control my thinking. Yes, you can, unless you say you can't, because whatever you say gets to be your reality. So we want to begin to check in. Check in with the words that we're saying and the way that we're talking. Look at how we use the I am. How we use the I am. I am one with God. If we say that over and over again, at some point in time, we might actually believe it. At some point in time, we might actually begin to live in that place of acceptance and beauty and grace and goodness, experiencing the bliss, the wonder of life and all that it has to offer. In the moment that we recognize the I am as the most powerful two words in our language, we will begin to use them respectfully. But sometimes we use them negatively, don't we? I am so worried, I am so sick, I am so tired, blah, 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 blah. Cancel all that. I am powerful, I am creative, I am divine, I am one with all that is, I am the essence of the Christ made manifest, I am the I am. That has nice power, doesn't it? Yes. So why don't we say that instead of I'm sick? I am healthy, wealthy, and wise. I am divine. I am pure potential. I am the one made manifest. I am the right person at the right time in the right place doing all the right stuff. Doesn't that feel good? Mm-hmm. You see, we have a choice. We have a choice about what we think about. And what we tend to think about sometimes, or what we tend to focus on, are all the things we don't want to have in our lives. We're focusing on what's wrong with the world. Why don't we focus on what's right with the world? Your intention, where you focus your attention, is creating the life that you're living and the world that you're living in. It's time we all develop this Pollyanna attitude of positivity and possibility, because in that moment we'll begin to experience something like that in our lives. How many of you would like to live in a world that was peaceful? How many of you would like to really feel loved and accepted for who you are? How many of you are willing to love and accept yourselves exactly as you are? See, that's where it starts. That's where it begins. When I can look in the mirror and go, wow, look what God made. Whew. When I can listen to my thinking and go, wow, that's God stuff. That's so good. Look how creative I am. Look how excited this is. Look how beautiful this is. When we can begin to look at ourselves in that way, we can begin to look at others in the same way. You see, the revelation of creating peace on earth and beauty all around us doesn't come from somebody else changing. You know that person we were talking about earlier is such an annoyance? They shift or transform, not because they've shifted or transformed or changed, but because we've chosen to look at them differently. The minute we look at them with the idea of love and possibility, the minute we look at the people around us as an incredible gift, as a beautiful expression of the Christ, the minute we do that, there's a transformation that occurs for us. And we begin to see the world as it's meant to be. We're able to see it from our perspective, which happens to be beauty and grace and goodness, in the moment that we allow for that. So are you ready to allow for that? Are you ready to spend time in the silence? You know, it's said that we lead these very busy lives. We've got apps and we've got texts and tweets and Instagram and Snapchat. And we've got all this stuff going on all the time, and there's noise and distraction all the time. And we're not taking the time in the silence We're not taking the time for our mind to relax into the one. We're not taking the time to just be. And the problem with that is our mind never gets a moment of rest, and so we wonder why there's so much anxiety in the world. It's because the mind is being bombarded with all of these distractions 24/7, and it's causing us harm. We need silence. But some of us have a little difficulty with silence. Sit in the silence. How many of you meditate every day? How many of you meditate occasionally? How many of you find it impossible to meditate because your mind won't shut up? Meditation isn't about shutting up your mind. It's about sitting in the silence and being aware. It's just being present. That's all it is. And sitting in the silence and being aware, wow, my mind is doing that thing. Wow. All right, let me just observe it. Let me observe my mind and the activity of it. I might realize why my life looks the way it does. As I sit in the silence and I begin to see the way my thoughts run. As I sit in the silence and I notice my resistance to what is, I begin to understand why my life looks the way it does. When I sit in the silence and I notice my mind immediately problem solving and checking the time because, 12 seconds has passed. For those of you who do that, just set a timer, something soft and gentle that will remind you when it's a half hour up. See, we're checking in all the time. We are distracted. But if we will take time in the silence day by day, morning and night, 20, 30 minutes at a time, we will begin to notice the way we think. We'll begin to notice why our life looks the way our life looks. We'll begin to notice how it is that we're being in the world. And we may even begin to notice gaps between the thoughts. And those gaps are the field of pure potentiality. And we want to expand those. But we can't expand them by resisting being present. We must simply be present. And in that presence, we discover our strength and our passion. We discover our abilities and our talents. We discover the law of pure potentiality. We begin to discover the Christ. See, we've been playing hard. We've been telling ourselves lies. We have decided that living from effect is effective. It is at creating misery and suffering and loss and pain. But when we begin to live from cause, when we begin to live from the first cause, God, Spirit, the one, when we begin to live from there, there's something that happens that is profound illumination. There becomes an opening that is truly exquisite. Something occurs that changes the game. And all of a sudden, things become easier. Things become more joyful. In her book, The Game of Life, she shares all sorts of stories of people who have been experiencing different trials and tribulations. And it is in the moment of absolute surrender that they begin to reveal the beauty of life. They begin to receive the blessing. That whatever it is they were seeking is bestowed upon them because the resistance has been released. Sometimes we have to drop to our knees, so to speak, before we receive that gift. Og Mandino was a very prolific writer, wrote some amazing stories of spirituality, great little stories that were so fun to read. But prior to that, he was an alcoholic and lost his family, lost everything. And he tells the story of laying in the ditch at the side of the road, looking up into a pawn shop window and seeing a gun in the window and thinking, there's my out. But in that very same moment, that moment of absolute surrender, that moment when he gave it all up, something happened. something happened. And he chose life. He didn't choose anymore to put in time or to drink it away or to hide from the realities of life and living, but rather to accept his lot in life at that moment, his lot in life that he had created, to accept it fully and completely and choose to live fully, to live completely. And he started again. And he wrote these incredible books. And he created a whole new life and family and lived fully and spoke to large crowds. A remarkable man of incredible gift. The gift was always there. But he was so distracted by life that he couldn't see the gifts that were already present. And so it is for all of us. We're so busy looking at the distractions as if they're real. Looking at the distractions, the successes or the failures, looking at all the things that have ever been, judging them as us. Allowing ourselves to be created not from the infinite eternal presence of God, but from our past circumstance, our humiliation, our shame, our doubts, our worries, our secrets. We tell ourselves stories that I must hide, I must wear these masks, because if people were to see who I really am, they would not love me. We must stop that. All of us are experiencing life in new and different ways. All of us are having days when we don't quite know what to do. All of us are having moments of sadness and moments of glee. All of us are experiencing moments of limitation and moments of exaltation. All of us are experiencing life. And all of it is good and very good. And in the moment that I can accept what is, in the moment I can take responsibility for what is, in that moment I'm free. How many of you would like to feel free? Free in your health, your finances, your relationships, free. Free to be what God created you to be, not some semi-bit of it, not hiding all the good aspects. You know, if you look at the yin-yang symbol, it's both black and white, right? And the two are intermingled. Why is that? Because all of us are light and darkness. All of us have within us that brilliant light and that which we judge as dark or bad. And what we've judged is only because somebody told us once that, oh, don't do that, that's bad. Don't do this, that's bad. And we believed them. And so we took all that we thought we should and we hid it. And we put a lid on it, and it's a little bit like a pressure cooker because at some point in time it's going to explode. It is going to explode. But if we will just look at all that stuff that we've judged as bad or wrong, that part of us that we go, ooh, don't go there. If we take that and embrace it, it creates the fullness of who we are. You see, the light and the dark makes us complete. You cannot have one without the other unless you're putting in time to death, because that's where it's going to take you. We must bring the two together in harmony, recognizing that it is the two together that create the fullness of the one. And it is those two together that allow us to be who we were created to be. It is in the moment that we accept every mistake we ever made and we just go, you know, it is what it is. Now what? Not now what, but now what? Getting excited that because I recognize my own journey, my journey to hear the Germany, that's my heritage, my German heritage popping out least expected. The journey that I've been on. Now, I could call it bad and wrong and, oh, I failed and I've made mistakes. No, I've had a life and it brought me to this moment. And that life is the life that I've lived that allows me to understand and comprehend the journey of my brothers and sisters because I, too, have made mistakes. Anybody here ever make a mistake? A misstep? Yeah, but sometimes we make them and then we flog ourselves for it. We judge ourselves for it. We are ashamed, humiliated. We look around us and go, oh, nobody else has ever made a mistake in life, just me. And we shine a light on our mistakes so big and so bold that we can never come out of the shadow because we're too afraid that somebody might see us. We must be seen. It's time to be seen. It's time to play the game fully, which means I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to hide. The life that has brought me to this moment is the perfect life for me, because it taught me a whole bunch of stuff. It taught me how to love. It taught me how to accept. It taught me how to accept the people around me right where they are. You know, as a minister, it's so much easier to love people if you just let them be who they are. If you just allow them to be who they are and love them anyway. I remember years ago, a group of people came to me. We had a friend that we all loved very dearly, and she happened to be an alcoholic. And that, made us sad because she was so great. Even drunk, she was fabulous. She was just fabulous all the time. Didn't matter if she was drunk or sober. She never really looked drunk, though. She could drink a lot and still look fine. And she was fine. She was beautiful, loving, kind, compassionate, respectful, accepting of people. But there was a group of people who came to me one day and said, we're going to do an intervention. And we want you to come. And I went, I don't think so. And they went, well, come on, like she's going to kill herself. I said, she might. But I love her enough to know that it's not my choice. I love her enough to know that if I join you in this, she ain't never going to speak to me ever again, because I know her really well. And they were like, yeah, but she's going to die. And I said, we're all going to die. We're all going to die. That's a guarantee. That's the one thing I know for sure, is that at some point in time, I'm leaving here, and probably I'm not going to just ascend. I'm probably going to drop this body first. So all of us are going to die. So they were pretty upset with me because they thought that I was abandoning my friend. But I wasn't. I just knew her well enough that if we did that thing, she would cut us from her life forever. I don't know what her pain was that caused her to drink the way she did. I know she had challenges with her family that couldn't be reconciled for whatever reason. But I also knew that her life was her choice, and that if she wanted my love and support in that way, she would have asked for it. We prayed together often. She was a deeply spiritual woman. And she died of 52 of liver failure, 2 years after the intended intervention. So they could sit back and say, well, see, we told you so. They didn't, because they knew. They didn't go ahead with the intervention because they knew what I said was right. She was a very strong-willed person, and she wasn't going to have any of us tell her how to live her life. And truly, it wasn't our place. We have to remember sometimes that when people want our support, they'll ask for it. That we can offer our love, but we can't force it down anybody's throat. We have to allow each person to walk their path and at the same time respect our own. I was once married to an alcoholic. It wasn't an easy thing, and I had to walk away. And that wasn't easy or fun, but it was needed for my own safety and that of my children. I'm not saying stay somewhere that is harming you, but I'm saying don't put your will on someone else. The game of life is really about being present to what is. It's about being accepting of all that you see and all that is, and being loving in each and every moment, recognizing there's only one of us here, and that every person in front of me is a reflection of some idea that I hold within myself, something I accept or something I reject. And in the moment that I can just love myself enough, In that moment, I can begin to love those around me, regardless of what I judge to be their mistakes or errors, because that's not my place. It is not my place to tell you that you're wrong and bad. It is my place to tell you that you are divine and beautiful, that you are perfect, whole, and complete. That's my place. And to begin to see myself in the same way. Each one of us is created in the image and of the likeness of God. We will accept that or not. If we accept it, we will begin to live in harmony with that. We will do our best every day to show up as that. But if we don't believe that, if we are struggling with our own personal identity, from there we will begin to live from a place of shame or doubt or worry, and we will continue to create that over and over again. We must love ourselves completely. We must look in the mirror and see God reflected back at us. We must look at our brothers and sisters around us and see God looking back at us. We need to see every single thing as divine perfection. This moment is perfect. There's nothing about it that needs to be altered or changed, and no one who needs to be altered or changed or fixed, because nothing is broken. If we can begin to accept that all is what it is and all is God and all is good, we begin to change the game. We change it from something that's hard and miserable, suffering and difficult, to something that's beautiful and blissful and sweet, even in the moments when it's painful. We begin to see the pain as an opportunity for reflection and awakening and expansion, and we begin to move forward with a greater sense of what's possible for us, and not just for us, but for everybody. We begin to see our own failings not as failings, but opportunities to do it different. So each one of us is God expressing, and we must love that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
We need to love ourselves so much that we can begin to love somebody else. And as we love that person, they begin to love themselves so much that all of a sudden they're loving us back. How great is that? Because that's the journey. That's the journey, is to love. That's it. The game of life is a game of love, period. Nothing else you need to know, nothing else you need to do. Everything else is just icing on the cake. That little maraschino cherry dropped on top. That's it. But the bread of it, the meat of it, is love. When is God good? All the time. God is good all the time. So Ricky Byers-Beckwith wrote that great song, I love myself so much. I love myself so much that I could love you so much, that you could love you so much, that you could start loving me. God bless.
Just clap your hands like this, y'all. Just clap your hands like this. Just clap your hands like this, y'all. Just clap your hands like this. And the people of God said, yeah. And the people of God said, yeah. And the people of God said, yeah. And the people of God said, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it, glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, this is the day that the Lord has made. This is the day, this is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it, glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord
Come on, somebody.
As I look back over all the years that I made it through, can't imagine what I'd be now if it wasn't for you. Why your favor rests upon me, I can never explain. Why your favor rests upon me, I can never explain. Why your favor rests upon me, I can never explain. But I'm so glad that I can say, this is the day, this is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it, glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord